Hey folks, I'm Brian, also known as the Bearded Nerd, and today we're tackling one of the most frustrating parts of being a game master. That's prep time. You love your world, you love the story that you've created, and you love your players. But after a long week of work, family obligations, and everything that life throws at you, the thought of sitting down, prepping a full 4 hour session can feel like climbing a mountain. I've been there, burnt out, over prepared, and under inspired. And that's why I utilize the lazy GM method. It's a lightweight prep system that still delivers an emotional and deep cinematic gameplay without demanding your entire weekend. In this video, you will learn this method and you'll learn how to implement it. So, with that being said, let's jump right into it. Traditional prep falls apart, in my opinion, because we focus on the wrong things. The truth is that most of us GMs write novels. We write a novel for our prep when we really don't need one. We just need the foundational layers that will provide us momentum. Too many GMs focus on lore when they should be focusing on the experience at hand. You might spend 3 hours designing the history of the Red Banner Kingdom, but the players never asked for it. In fact, they want to know where the loot is, they want to know which NPC is lying to them, and what's behind that cursed door. That's the shift we need to make as GMs. So, first and foremost, you need to get into the headspace that your players are demanding X when you are wanting to write or prep for Y. Instead, shift your focus. The players want X, so prep for X. And what you actually need to prep before every session is a scene, a goal, and a choice. For the scene, you got to ask yourself, where are we starting this session? What's happening that demands the attention of the party? For example, you might be standing on the edge of a broken bridge, and below the river glows blue, and a storm is coming. And this broken bridge has a person that is clad in armor. Maybe they have a hood or a cowl over their face. That scene right there allows your players to know where they're at and what's in front of them. What's in front of them can be the goal or the obstacle that they have. But the players are going to have a desire. They have a goal that they want to obtain. So you got to ask yourself, what do the players want? And what is standing in their way of the goal? Using the example of the figure clad in armor with a hood over their face. Maybe they are protecting that broken bridge, and your players are trying to cross the bridge to get to the other side to go on their journey. Is this figure stopping them from obtaining their goal? Are they an obstacle? They could be, depending on how the players role play this, but that right there is enough. And for that NPC, you can create a name, an occupation, or a role that they have, and a quirk. Three simple things that gives your players something to kind of chew on, right? They may need something that's across that bridge, but that person is stopping them. So whatever that is allows them to make what I like to call the player choice. Simple term, I know, but that choice is what really matters. That is the soul of your session. That choice can fuel hours of gameplay. And that's pretty much it. Those three things, that choice that comes about after it, is the final thing, maybe the ribbon or the bow on that present. As you can tell, I didn't write 10 pages of outline. I had a strong opening scene, an obstacle that presents itself in front of the player's goal, and a meaningful decision based upon that provides drama and tension. I could stop the video right here, but something that I really want to talk about as well is the improv aspect that happens. In this lazy GM method, you're going to leverage improv and you're going to leverage some tools. And here's really where the fun begins with your prep. If you need a faction for that NPC, you can have a pre built list or use a random generator. You need a name for that NPC? Again, you can have a cheat sheet or you can have a random generator. You need some tension? You can use a random generator for the quirk. You can write down some sort of quirk or goal based upon a random roll table. As you can see, I like to use a lot of random generators and roll tables and those type of cheat sheets. It allows me to improvise in a structured way and kind of just feel the energy and the vibe that my players are giving. It gives them something to chew on with consequences, so to speak. Because, in my opinion, the key to this lazy GM method isn't necessarily just winging it completely. It's having something that I can reuse and reutilize over and over again in different ways. And if you've made this stuff in the past, even better. It's going to feel more authentic to your world. If you like to use random generators, even better. Again, it's whatever works for you. You don't need to prep everything. You just need to prep smart. When I made that transition, it saved me so much time. And from there, let the players drive, right? I've talked about in my podcast, the Bearded Nerd podcast, about letting the players be collaborators in world building. The players are already collaborative in the storytelling aspect. They collaborate when it comes to telling the story. So why wouldn't you let them collaborate in the world building and in the prep process? One of the best hacks that I ever heard was just letting the players do the lifting. You can even ask the players, what do you know about this NPC? Roll a history check. Or what's your passive perception? And start to narrate what they would look like. And if you have an image of it, even better, you can just describe that image to them, right? Those types of things really help. You can even say in that history check, if you have them roll it, that you heard a rumor, or rather, that your players heard a rumor of a lonely knight who stands guard over this bridge, just waiting for a particular individual who they're seeking their revenge upon. Gives them something to chew on. Again, this is putting the ball in their court, and suddenly they're invested. And you just saved yourself 30 minutes of background writing. Now, here's a hard truth that I think a lot of folks don't want to necessarily talk about. If you're short on time and the players decide to do what players do and fight the NPC, you don't need to stat it out. You can honestly just pull from the monster manual or generate a random NPC with its stats and everything else and go from there. Now, that's very specific to these NPC. But if you don't want to stat everything out, your prep time could be randomly rolling for taverns. Write down the name of the tavern, where they're located, and what they're known for. You can have some backup encounters. You can have a bunch of NPCs ready to go. A lot of times, folks like to use the 4-3-2 method where it's 4 different locations, 3 encounters, which is a role play encounter, a combat encounter, and a puzzle or some sort of interaction. And then 2 NPCs to focus on, and then 1 major encounter or 1 major plot, right? It just depends what works for you and your style. But what I want you to focus on is the story that you want to tell with your players. the tension that you want them to feel. If that tension allows you to write 4 different taverns and have that in your back pocket, perfect. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. The one thing about this method is that one thing can change by the session's end, and you are going to feel confident that you can roll with it, no pun intended, and be okay. Again, it's not necessarily lazy. Maybe that was a bit of a cheeky way of having you watch this video. It's intentional. Being a quote lazy GM doesn't mean that you're a bad one. It just means that you're being smart with your time. You're trusting the players at your table and you're focusing on what matters, which is the experience. That's why we're all playing this game. And if you want a plug and play version of this method, I put together a little 15-minute session prep over on Patreon where it's free for all guild members. If you'd like to check that out, it's got everything I just talked about, plus a quick little checklist of examples that you can use today. And if this video helped, please hit that like button, subscribe for weekly GM tools, and drop a comment with your favorite lazy prep trick. You're the one that brings the story and the dice probably to the table. You also bring the fun. So remember, you're in control of that and you should be focusing on that fun. Until next time, folks, have a great one. And as always, keep gaming.